Hi everyone, welcome back to the TheJaxLife channel. Today is Thursday, September 29th, 2011, and I'd like to go ahead and this week talk about the City Council and the Mayor and the big changes that have happened in the city government, and talk about the meeting back earlier this week on Tuesday where the city budget was finalized. The city is required to finalize the budget because we have to know what our taxes are going to be for this year. And yay, I don't have to have an increase in my property tax this year, as far as I know. So that's a good thing. After a year or two of increases, it's time to actually have a break from it. So the prior week, I did talk about the Jacksonville Public Libraries. And I talked about the concerns that I had that the City Council was going to eliminate the libraries being open on Mondays. That has since been canceled. The City Council has restored most of the funding to the libraries. So as far as I know, most of the libraries should be open on Mondays going forward. So we'll see what happens on that. Ultimately, I think the decision gets made with the library, but the funding has been restored back to where it should be. Not completely, but you know, at least that's something, and that's good. You know, I know that there were some people on the City Council who were for it, restoring the funding, and one person who said, you know, the City of Orlando libraries did cuts like this. And it's like, well, Mr. Richard Clark, City Councilman, you know, I don't live in Orlando. I don't pay Orlando my property taxes. And when I go to the library, I don't drive down to Orlando. Now, having lived in Orlando, I actually went to the Castleberry Library, but you know, we have to start looking at what is right for Jacksonville, not what some policy wonk is telling you and what may look good on paper in some other city that doesn't even resemble who we are in Jacksonville. We're Jacksonville. We're not Orlando. We don't have Disney World. So needless to say, you know, I'm glad it's a step forward for the City Council. You know, it took a lot to do that. It took a lot to go up against some of the idiocy that's out there, and I applaud them for that, and that's great. I still think the Equestrian Center should have been closed, the property sold, or converted to a community center or something like that. You know, because when you think of horses, do you really think of Jacksonville? For those of you who drive I-295, I mean, we're not exactly living out on the farm. I don't know. I think that the Equestrian Center has been a big boondoggle, and you know, what happens if a horse gets loose on 103rd Street? We'll see. But they've continued the funding for that. And meanwhile, there are cuts at the Sheriff's Office. So it'll take another year or two for the city to realize the true priorities. There are going to be cuts. We're going to see them. Cuts in road maintenance. There are going to be cuts, and we are going to feel them. But, you know, at some point, you know, you can't have your taxes increased every year. Sorry. City Hall was built around the boom times kind of from years ago. And I think they were kind of living like that there, and I think now we're starting to inject a little bit of reality into City Hall, a little bit of reality. So, and that's good. You know, we're finally, I think we're making a step forward. And in related news, Mayor Brown has let go his top leadership, department directors in the city government. Part of the city reorganization, and the Economic Development Commission was disbanded, but you know, it'll filter off into elsewhere within the bureaucracy, and I'm sure some sort of form of it will reemerge, maybe a little bit more responsive, a little bit more along the lines of what, you know, the mayor's looking for. You know, I think we do need some sort of coordinated policy. We need to get jobs to Jacksonville. I read somewhere that it's possible that one of the financial services firms will be adding some jobs, expanding here in Jacksonville, but we're competing against some other cities. So we need to really be out there. If there are jobs coming here and the decisions being made, we need to be putting our best foot forward. and I'm hoping that the mayor and the city council and leadership, the new leadership, will do it, because heads rolled at City Hall, and that's good, because there have been people that have been in there a while, and you know, you need new ideas. And you know, I like to think if I was somewhere for 20 years, I would think about it and go, you know what, I think it's time for me to allow someone else to have a chance. But you know, what do I know? So that's what's been going on here in Jacksonville. That wraps up, at least at this point, within the TheJaxLife channel, my coverage of Jacksonville politics. I'll, you know, talk about things as needed, as I feel like it, but I'll start going back to my regular format. I hope you all enjoyed my story that I did on Facebook, where I talked a little bit about the changes. I did a report, did a TheJaxLife story on Facebook, and I talked a little bit about that, about the changes that were made, the ones that were made earlier that week, and then the ones that were unveiled later on this past week. And I haven't yet encountered the timeline. I'm already, though, starting to sink in, thinking about how these notifications are being set up, and the priorities are set up, and the way the new format is for this news feed. And I'm not going to volunteer to have my profile altered just yet. I'll let Facebook do that for me, as they're doing everything else. And you know, I think I realized it one day when, about a couple days ago, when I went on to try to do something and kept getting all of this stuff, and it's like, you know, I'm not being allowed to really prioritize and look at things in my own way, which is why I like Twitter. You know, and I like other sites, because I seem to be able to kind of go in and find what I need and look at what I need and enjoy it. So I think I realized at that point that Facebook has jumped the shark, and you know, that expression comes from that old TV show from the late 70s, early 80s called Happy Days. When I was a kid, it was my favorite show. You know, it had the Fonz, it had Henry Winkler. And the Fonz jumped the shark out in California. The story was based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and you know, as part of, towards the end of the series, the whole cast, you know, did filming in California, and you know, they did a story out in California. And you know, the Fonz was out on water skis. It was hilarious, but it was the high water mark of the show. And after that, it was pretty much downhill, and that's the way it is with things. And I think Facebook's gone downhill. At some point, you can't just keep changing things on people. I adapted through every change that Facebook introduced from the time I started in mid-08, but you know, I'm having trouble with this change, and it's more of a, it's not a, I just don't like change. It is a, like a, well, I don't know. It's easier to read something else. It's easier to look at other things. It's too time consuming for me to do administrative tasks, and then I can't even change my notifications. They've started to go through, and as I mentioned in my report last week, or my story last week, I talked about Facebook and how you're going to start to see less control over it. And in time, if I feel like it doesn't resemble what it was that I want to be a part of, I'll slowly fade away. And that's the way it is. So yeah, Facebook jumped the shark, and that's the way it is. And so we'll see. You know, there's always Google Plus. It's kind of been static lately. I don't know where Google Plus is going. I don't even know where I'm going on all this. I do know that I'm really enjoying YouTube. I'm really enjoying Twitter, and I'm trying to hang on with Facebook. And I hope that I really do hope that the timeline isn't the one thing that finally, you know, I finally have to walk away on. But they're going to have to fix some things. You know, just because you built a company and you did all this stuff doesn't mean you're a genius forever. And sometimes you can lose your touch, and sometimes you can be in a bubble. And some of these corporate people, politicians, they get in a bubble. And they get surrounded by yes people, and surrounded by people who think they know what's best, and they forget about who it is that makes them who they are. And at that point, they become less relevant, and people move on. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. See you later.